welcome to part 2. So Saima, let's continue where we left off.
जी बिल्कुल consciousness हम consciousness पे बात कर रहे थे. You know, there was a time. Now, this is also fundamentally important to understand. There was a time when human consciousness was not organized around scientific mind. Now, why do I say that? Scientific mind is that alert cognitive state of awareness where your 5 senses are at the boom. They're participating fully. So according to scientific understanding of consciousness, your 5 awareness are fully participative in the process of you being alert. That is consciousness, right? In those times, alone consciousness was not just the scientific part, but also, in fact, the word used back then was not even the word consciousness, it was conscience.
Right.
And there are 2 distinct differences in these 2 concepts.
Right.
We have ridiculously replaced the word conscience with consciousness now.
Okay.
So when I say in today's world, I'm conscious, what I'm saying basically is I recycle, I take omega-3, I participate in petitions regarding global warming, I practice deep breathing, I'm aware of my needs, I'm aware of what I want, what I don't want, I have this self-awareness, and hence I'm a conscious human being. However, nowhere it says that I am responsible for anything at all.
True.
This is what consciousness has become today for us. Now, if we have to understand, I'm hoping not to, throw the audience off the balance here from the word discipline. It's right there, and I will be incorporating it. In order to understand this, we need to first investigate what is and how does our mind work, right? And it is very essential to understand our mind does not care, and I repeat, does not care how the choices we are making today will affect us emotionally, physically, psychologically, energetically, intuitively, spiritually in next 10 to 15 years. So what does then our mind cares for? Our mind seeks instant gratification.
Okay.
Which is in direct contradiction with the word discipline.
Okay. All right.
So for instance, today, if right now at this moment, I choose to smoke a cigarette, my mind does not care what the consequence of this choice I will have to face in later years.
True.
It wants instant gratification.
यानी फौरी चाहिए, फौरी हल, फौरी मजा, और जब मिलता है तो बड़ा इत्मीनान होता है, लेकिन इसका जो दूर का जो नतीजा है, क्या होगा, क्या उसका कोई ख्याल ही नहीं है.
Right? इसी वजह से the word consciousness has become now as a source of self-gratification, to become more and more aware of what I need, what I want. That is the sense of consciousness now.
Very me driven.
Yes, it has become very me driven. Now, what is the word conscience and what's the difference now? The word conscience, along with awareness, holds you accountable. It's the moral compass that life has installed in us, in all of us, which guides us while we make our choices.
Wow. Wow.
That's conscience. That's conscience. And conscience allows you to reflect and think like this, not only in terms of what I want and what I don't want, but then you begin to think like this. What are the qualities of the choices that I'm making today?
All right. So that's the added dimension.
That's the added. What consequences are these choices going to have on me, my health, which involves all these dimensions I mentioned earlier? Your emotional, your physical, your intuitive, your spiritual, all of these. Not only that, it goes a step further. What consequences my choices are going to have on those around me, others? And most importantly, what motivates me to do what I do?
All right.
Now imagine being conscious without conscience.
Ooh. Ooh. That is a very, I think we are witnessing that in our world today. This world is suffering from the greed and the instant gratification that we are seeking. Consumerism is a classic example of it. And what's happening is this mindless purchasing and just getting our bags full with shopping and getting satisfaction from that. I think that is causing a huge damage, not only to our budgets, but also to our environment.
You're absolutely right. And this is what is happening. And this is why we are in, actually, I should say, a human crisis. We are having a human crisis now because we've lost our humanities. We've lost our sense of moralities. We are losing that connection with that moral compass that is within us. It's not participating in our choices. Hence, we are struggling with, because we don't have that direction. We are still lacking discipline regardless of knowing what I want at just conscious level.
Wow. Wow. Now, this is where the discipline comes in. And it is the lack of discipline that has put us into a very high risk zone when it comes to carbon emissions, when it comes to global warming, when it comes to an imbalance in relationships within our families, feuds over land and property, and all kinds of conflicts that we see occurring. It's very much me consciousness.
Yes.
I need this, I want this, this is my right. But the responsibility part is not playing any role.
It's not there. It's not there. And let me give a practical example of this. What happens when there is a participation of conscience that happens, right? And I would like to link this with this new understanding, which we can obviously take to the part 3 of this video, that participation of conscience in your consciousness. That's very important to understand. Participation of conscience in your consciousness is going to cost you.
And could I then rephrase this by saying that our thinking needs to be consequential thinking? Would that connect conscience with consciousness?
Yes, but for you, in order to be able to perceive the consequence, your conscience has to play a role in it. You need to know the difference between the right and wrong.
Fair enough. And this is where the ethical side of our humanity comes out. And ethics in itself becomes a huge subject because the sources of the sense of right and wrong vary from individual to individual. And I feel that this is an area which I'm sure you would want to touch on in the following episode.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
it is
Definitely.
huge as a subject.
Definitely. Yes, and I personally believe, if you ask me, I personally believe ethics and moralities are not choices we have.
Would you say
They're,
that they are derived from the laws of nature that we are part of?
yes, they are very much integral components of our well-being. And if we deviate from them, we suffer the consequences, sometimes in physical illnesses, forms of physical illnesses.
So could you then comment also on the fact that we have interfered with nature on several fronts, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in food production, whether it is in fossil fuels that we burn mindlessly. Uh, would you see that as interference in the natural order of things?
Absolutely. But again, what you are saying is the macro understanding of it. The micro understanding of it is, first of all, we lose that connection with our conscience, which allows us to make those choices which do not foresee the consequential effect of our choices.
Right, right. So
Resulting into all the things you just mentioned.
and I think it's happening to us because the number of illnesses, the amount of viruses that are there, the mutations that are taking place, the vulnerability that has
Yes?
increased, the
Yes.
immune system that is going down. All of this, I suppose, is a more of a psychosomatic condition rather than a physical one. Physical is a symptom, probably. Is that right?
It is. And why did I say initially that the participation of conscience is always going to cost you? Is because you will have to ask yourself, okay, so if I involve my conscience into this, I might have to alter or change the deal that I'm about to make,
Wow.
sign the contract that I'm about to do.
Wow.
I might have to change the dynamics of the relationship I'm in, or the extramarital relationship I'm having, uh, or my work, my job, my friendships, and then you name it. Your
Right.
conscience participation is going to, because it is going to hold you accountable. There is no other way out of it.
Right. And not only will this accountability be will in this life, but for those who believe in life after,
Yes,
it will
yes.
be there too. So
You
let's
will constantly feel powerless.
right,
That's what's
right.
going to happen. And we're going to take this to our part 3 now, of course.
Fine. I would like us to wrap up on this extremely difficult path. And I think there is a saying from Professor Heifetz that I recall from 97. He said about leadership that there are no easy answers. And
Yes,
I feel that you are bringing us to the point where we've all got to be making some very tough decisions in different spheres of our life. Thank you so
absolutely.
much. Let's meet
Thank you.
in part 3 in a few minutes.
Yes.